Today I'm going to talk about Starship Troopers based on Robert Heinlein's classic novel. Man vs. Monster, Interstellar Warfare in the 22nd Century. It's from Avalon Hill in 1876. Cover art is very, very fitting for the time and definitely evokes the early classic science fiction. And it's a bookcase game. And there's a lot of neat things about it, as you'll see. It's definitely a classic. And actually on the back, it's not to be confused with the more recent movie, which, is just your standard, special effects. But, so it's not tied really into that, just loosely in my opinion. But it's very closely tied in with the classic novel. Actually, Robert Heinlein actually kind of made a statement here about it. You can see it's actually looks like it's typed from a typewriter back from the era, so it's kind of neat. So a little bit about what he says. Robert Heinlein. Playing units of the Terran Federation, the Mobile Infantry are an elite corps akin to the U.S. Marine Corps or U.S. Army paratroopers. The MI humans wear powered jumpsuits that enable them to leap over obstructions such as buildings. They're armed with advanced weapons that give each infantryman firepower roughly equivalent to a platoon today. Brought to the battle site by spaceships, MIs are ejected into space above the battle area in capsules. The capsules enter the atmosphere, the MIs emerge and parachute down to form up to do battle. Casualties are always suffered, but MIs do not leave injured comrades behind when their ships send down a space boat to make a pickup. MIs are versatile. They can make a quick strike, do enormous damage in a few minutes, and return to their starship, or stay down for full battle, conquer or die. The enemies are non-human aliens. One sort are the arachnids, something like giant spiders, who live a communal life and have a social structure resembling an ant or bee colony. They have at least the following castes: queens, brains, warriors, and workers. Only the warrior class fights, but warriors are directed in their tactics by one or more brains. Arachnids are underground creatures, burrowing tunnels in which they live and work. It is therefore necessary to go down and destroy or capture the brains and queens, as well as the warrior caste. Skinnies are a humanoid race that fights the Terran Federation early in the war. In a later phase, they are allied with the humans to fight the arachnids. Again, Robert Heinlein. Smart theme, actually, in the rules. They have various sketches, and in particular, on the back, you get to see a little bit stained here, but a sketch of what the mobile infantry would look like. These are skinnies, the humanoids mentioned, and this discuss the arachnid hive complex. Then there's a lot of good theme in here as well. Giving you more of the story. As far as the components then, there's the rule book, which is like 24 total pages, and again it's got several sketches in it. It's kind of neat. It's set up in a series of scenarios where you learn by the scenarios and you progress. We'll go over that in detail. It has a bit of color to it. It's like one color in black and white. And there's these player aid charts, a couple of these. Alien attack table, SWD loss chart, mobile infantry carrying capacities, Terran attack table, and terrain effects chart. Then you have this pad with several, each player would use them. On one side you have the alien control pad where you tunnel movement, etc. Keep track of all that. On the other side, for the alien, and then on the other side for the Terran, it's the structure of their platoons and tracking damage, etc. And a time record chart. It doesn't come with a tray, although I'd recommend you use one because it's got a lot of counters, and I mean a good quantity of counters and good diversity of counters. I use a trimmed up a GMT tray, but there's several different kind of trays you can use. But like I said, a good mix of counters, and they're standard, half inch by half inch. I round them off. I usually round things off so they look a little bit better. And some are two-sided, most are one-sided, but nice color schemes, and they look pretty well. Some nice dice too, nice kind of sharp-edged dice. As far as the unique counters, they're displayed in the rules here, so I'll just kind of actually set them up according to by their definitions. First of all, the way units are set up are some that have designators would indicate the parent unit, the attack strength, the defense strength, the movement allowance, the unit type, and the identification number. The unique units then are for Terrans: Command, Marauder, Scout, Combat Engineer Squad, Air Car, Special Talent, Delayed Action Proximity, MI, Delayed Action Remote, MI, Heavy Nerve Gas, MI, Listening Device, Heavy Explosive, Demolition Munitions, Nuclear Demolition Munitions, and these are C. Miscellaneous units: Retrieval Boat, Rocket Beacon, Captured Arachnid Brain. The alien units then, the humanoid or skinnies are the yellow ones here, the yellowish gold. So the humanoids: Warrior, Worker, Heavy Weapon Beam, Heavy Weapon Missile, Strong Point, Decoy, and some have indicators of different types on the back, and some are only one-sided, only have information on one side. Critical installation counters: power, communications, water. And these are the arachnids: Warrior, Worker, Heavy Weapon, some indicator counters, perimeter marker, breach marker, radiation, red, area marker, damage indicators: heavy damage, wounded action, killed in action, disrupted, and then there's a tunnel movement counter. So that's the counters. Here's the map. It's just excellent. It's a board mounted map. Comes in these 3 sections, and it's really a work of art. You'd be hard pressed to find a better map than this, in my opinion. Each X is a mile across, and then the terrain effects chart shows you what the different types are. Here's savanna, rough terrain, barren, city spaceport, and then road. So like I said, this is from 1976, but it holds up well against anything even today. And all the hexes are numbered, of course. Then we'll get into the rules. So I'll go through the rules here. Like I said, it's set up in scenarios, so you learn as you go. There's 7 scenarios, and I'll do 1 through 4 in detail, and then 5 through 7 I'll talk kind of more to high level catch points there. Scenario 1, right on the humanoids. Scenario 1 rules: form a completely self-contained package, presenting a simple yet fast-moving introductory game. Sequence of turns: it goes into game is performed in turns, shown below. Terran player segment, movement phase. Terran player moves none, some, or all of his unit counters up to the movement allowances. B. Close combat phase. Terran player initiates and resolves any attacks that he chooses to execute against those enemy units, occupying the same as Hex's friendly units. 2. Humanoid player segment. Movement phase. Humanoid player moves his units in the same manner as the Terran player. Close combat phase. Humanoid player initiates and resolves attacks in the same manner as the Terran player, and then you repeat the steps above for each turn of the game. Movement. Say move them in consecutive connected hexes. You expend movement points, and movement points are shown on the terrain effects chart with, again, the different types of terrain and the effect when the defender is Terran or alien, humanoid or arachnid, and also the effects on movement for terrain and alien, humanoid, arachnid, where you expend movement points. You can't pass through enemy units. You can only pass through friendly units. Stacking. Up to 6 humanoid warrior, worker, and her heavy weapon units may stack a hex at a time. Up to 4 arachnid warrior, worker, and her heavy weapon units may stack in a hex at a time. An unlimited number of Terran units may stack in a hex. Stacking only applies at the end of movement phase, not during it. Stacking limits are unaffected by the presence of enemy units in the hex. Close combat. Close combat may occur between units on the same hex. You don't have to attack, but you can. During the close combat phase of the segment, player may only attack those enemy units occupying the same hex with friendly units. All types of Terran units may initiate close combat. Only alien warrior units may initiate close combat. Heavy weapon and worker units may not initiate close combat. Units are never required to attack, but always have the option to do so. No enemy unit may be attacked more than once per close combat phase. No friendly unit may attack more than once per friendly close combat phase. When more than one defending unit is in a hex with several attacking units, the attacker may divide combat into more than one combat situation at his option. Not all friendly units in a hex must attack, and not all enemy units in a hex must be attacked. The attacker always has the choice of dividing combat in any manner he chooses, providing that any attack has a minimum odds ratio of at least 1 to 3. Each combat situation is resolved individually, and the results applied to the specific units involved in this manner. For each separate combat situation, total all the attack strength points of the attacking units together, and then total all defenders' defense strength points together. Express the two totals as an odds ratio, attacker or defender. Round off this odds ratio downwards to conform to a simplified odds category presented in the proper alien or Terran attack table. And here's the attack table with the odds ratio and die roll, with the results being miss, no effect, disrupted, which means the target may not move, re-enter tunnel systems, or engage in any type of attack during the next alien player segment. Place disrupt marker on the unit, move at the end of the next alien player segment. Eliminated, target unit destroyed and eliminated as a combat force. Remove unit. That's the Terran attack table. Alien attack table. Combat odds ratio, die roll. Again, miss, no effect. Some different results here. Stun, target unit is stunned. Target unit may not move or engage in any type of attack during the next Terran player segment. So you invert the unit to indicate it's stun, and then turn it face up the next Terran player segment. LGST, target suffers light, superficial damage. Target unit is allowed. Target unit is stunned for 1 turn. Additional roll 1 die on SWE loss chart to determine if the target unit loses any of its attached SWE. Heavy. Target unit suffers extensive heavy damage to the armored protection. Target unit is stunned for 1 turn. Unit loses extended jump capability, meaning attack, close combat phase from the end of the game. Additionally, roll and die in the SWE loss chart to determine the target loses any of the attached SWE. Place heavy damage marker on the unit. WIA, target is wounded in action, armor protection penetrated. Target unit may not move or attack for the remainder of the game. Additionally, roll and die to determine target losses. Place a WAI damage marker on the unit. KIA, killed in action. Target may not move or attack for the remainder of the game. To remove unit. Additionally, roll 1 die roll to determine target losses. Place KIA marker. Some of these may apply to future scenarios. I'll go through the rules and see which applies to this first scenario. Here's a SWE loss chart. Die roll. Type of damage sustained: light, heavy, WA, or KIA. X indicates all attached SWE belonging to the target unit is destroyed. Moved from unit's control box. Dash has no effect. All SWE remains stable. See, important. The alien attack table is used only to resolve combat when Terran units are defending. Terrain attack. The Terran attack table is used to resolve combat when humanoid or arachnid units are defending. Roll die once for each attack situation, etc. Apply the result to the defending units in a specific combat situation. See the proper attack table key for the effects of the combat results and defending units special. Ignore all references to SWE in scenario 1. So SWE refers to special weapons and equipment, which we won't be looking at in scenario 1. Strong points. Strong points are defensive fortifications that the humanoid player may use to increase the defensive strength of his units. Strong point counters are positioned on the map board prior to the commencement of play. No more than 1 strong point counter may be placed in each hex. Strong point counters may not be placed in city or spaceport hexes. Each strong point counter may protect a maximum of 4 humanoid units. Units are indicated as being inside a strong point by being placed under the strong point counter. Units may move into or out of strong points at any time during the friendly movement phase without penalty. Only humanoid units may be placed under strong point counters. Strong point counters do not affect attacking limitations in any way. Hex containing 4 humanoid counters and a strong point counter may still contain 2 other humanoid units on top of that strong point counter. Units under strong point counter defend with the defense strength of the strong point, ignoring their own defense strengths. All units inside of strong point must be attacked as a whole at a defensive strength of 9. They may not be attacked individually. Units under a strong point may attack normally. If units under strong point are eliminated as a result of combat, the strong point is immediately removed from play. An unoccupied strong point is eliminated if a functional Terran unit occupies the same hex at the end of the Terran player segment. Strong points do not affect terrain effects chart modification in any way. Inverted decoy counters. Alien combat units and critical installation counters may be positioned and moved map board in an inverted manner in all of these scenarios to limit the opposing player's knowledge, the exact strength and disposition of friendly units. All alien worker, warrior, heavy weapons, and decoy critical installation units may be placed on the map board face down prior to the commencement of play. An alien unit must be turned face up whenever an enemy unit is moving in the hex. The unit is exposed at the end of the enemy's movement phase. Alien unit must be turned face up immediately whenever it enters the hex occupied by a functional enemy unit. Definition of functional unit is one that is in a non-disruptive, non-stunned, non-WA, or non-KA condition resulting from combat. A face-up alien unit may be reinverted at the beginning of the player segment, providing The unit is in hex unoccupied by any functional enemy units. Humanoid units under strong point counters may not be examined by the opposing player unless they attack enemy units. Decoy units is provided in the individual scenarios, function like inverted. Real units, decoy units, however, have no combat strength and are merely eliminated from the game whenever they must be revealed to the opposing player. They do not count against stacking limits. Mobile Infantry Organization and Terran Control Sheet. Terran Control Sheet is used to record certain types of damage inflicted as a result of combat. This is the Terran Control Sheet. And in advanced scenarios to determine the distribution of special weapons and equipment. It also shows the schematic organization of a typical mobile infantry platoon. Full strength mobile infantry platoon contains 54 fighting men and officers organized into 2 sections. Each section has 3 squads containing 8 men each. Each section is commanded by the section leader and an assistant section leader, and the entire platoon is commanded by a lieutenant or sergeant. On the Terran control sheet, each M1 counter is represented by a counter diagram in a box. These boxes will be used in subsequent scenarios to organize and control various types of equipment carried by MI units. Furthermore, the Terran control chart is a schematic diagram which shows exactly which individual unit counters belong in each squad, section, and platoon. Humanoid organization. The humanoid ground forces organization is not as rigid as Terran organization. Rather, the organization encompasses those ground forces and non-combat workers within the immediate vicinity of the military action. With a characteristic lack of specialization, the humanoids have only 3 basic types of units: workers, warriors, and heavy weapon units. Critical installation counter. Scenario 1 uses a special type of counter called a critical installation counter, which represents one of the Terran objectives of the mobile infantry's raid: power sources, communication centers, and water supply. Prior to the commencement of play, the humanoid player may place his allotted critical installation counters on the map board subject to scenario setup restrictions, if any. Critical installation counters may not be placed in city spaceport or rough terrain hexes. They may not be placed in hexes containing strong points. In scenario 1, the Terran player may destroy critical installation counters by maintaining a functional mobile infantry unit in the same hex, free of any enemy units at the end of the Terran player segment. The destroyed critical installation counter is removed at the end of the Terran player segment. Critical installation counters may be positioned face down prior to the commencement of play. They are revealed in the same manner as other inverted counters. In scenario 2, Operation Bughouse, the arachnid organization. Arachnid social organization is best typified as a militant subterranean hive society. All production, communication, military functions are centrally controlled by various brains. Arachnids produce superdeveloped central nervous systems, thus allowing swift, efficient deployment of resources, both military and industrial. Arachnid cities, called complexes, communication and transportation systems, tunnels, and life support systems are entirely underground. Tunnel systems emanating from arachnid complexes allow units to move secretly and swiftly. Arachnid tunnel and complex organization. The arachnid organization centers around the subterranean city complexes and their ancillary tunnel systems. All arachnid complexes are of exact same geometry and composition. Each complex occupies a 7-hex formation on the alien player's map pad. The alien player secretly positions and draws his complex and his tunnel systems anywhere on the map pad subject to the procedures outlined below. A complex consists of a queen cell surrounded by 6 brain cells, one being a master brain cell, and the other 5 combat brain cells. Each complex thus consists of 7 hexes, which are always drawn on the map pad in the shape illustrated in the following diagram. Each of the 5 combat brain cells contains 5 warrior, 5 worker, 1 heavy weapon, and 1 engineer unit. These units, except for the engineer unit, are represented by die-cut counters. Note the queen brain and engineer units are not represented by counters. They exist only on the alien map pad and never appear or move on the map board. Constructing tunnel systems. Each combat brain cell has one and only one tunnel connected to it. Depending upon how a player constructs his tunnel systems, a tunnel may have numerous branches and extensions. Prior to commencement of play, the alien player constructs its tunnels by drawing pencil lines on the alien control pad as follows. Each combat brain cell has one and only one initial tunnel segment. 10 is long emanating from it. The initial tunnel is called the primary tunnel segment. In addition, each primary tunnel segment may have the following number of secondary tunnel segments connected to it. 1 5-hex tunnel segment, 2 3-hex tunnel segments. These secondary tunnel segments may connect directly to the primary tunnel segment or be connected with other secondary tunnel segments that connect to the primary tunnel segment. The tunnel segment is indicated on the alien control pad by simply drawing a single straight line from the midpoint of one hex to the midpoint of another hex. Tunnel segments, regardless of length, are always drawn as straight line segments. An individual tunnel segment may never contain bends or angles within it. Important tunnel segment lines may only intersect hex sides at 90-degree angles. Therefore, tunnel segments must follow the grain of the hex rows. Tunnel segments must always be drawn to connect with the primary, secondary tunnel segments of the same tunnel system to form a continuous unbroken path of tunnel hexes connecting to the parent combat brain cell. Secondary tunnel segments added to a tunnel system may, however, intersect existing tunnel segments of the same tunnel system. That is, tunnel segments are not required to be connected end-to-end, but may be added anywhere along the length of an existing tunnel, either connected to or intersecting an existing tunnel segment. Important, the tunnel segments that make up the tunnel system of one combat brain cell may never connect or intersect the tunnel systems of other combat brain cells. Each cell's tunnels are, in effect, a closed system. Only the primary tunnel segment may connect with its parent combat brain cell. Other tunnel segments of the system may never connect directly to the cell. Tunnel segments may never connect to the master brain cell or the queen cell. Erected tunnel movement notation. Erected brains and queens may never move from their initial cell locations. Warrior, worker, and heavy weapon units may only move from the parent brain cell to the surface via breach hex. This is accomplished in one phase, regardless of the length of or distance along the tunnel system. They may never remain within the tunnel system. Once on the surface, they may move their full movement allowance in the same turn. Erected engineer units may move only within their parent cell's tunnel system. They may never move to the surface or enter their parent brain cell. Engineer units may move through an unlimited number of connected intact tunnel hexes in any one movement phase. Since all erected units except engineers will always be in their parent brain cell or on the surface, only the position of the engineer unit must be recorded on the map pad. To record the engineer's location, simply write the turn number in the tunnel hex containing the engineer at the end of the movement phase. If the engineer does not move, no number is written. Breaching in tunnel and surface movement. Erected engineers may create passageways from any intact tunnel hex to the surface of the same hex is called breaching. Engineers create breaches in hex they occupy during the alien special function phase, and they may not create breaches in the brain or queen cells. Indicate breach tunnel hexes on the alien map pad by drawing a circle around the hex. Place a breach marker in the proper hex on the map board. Immediately after the placement of the breach marker, or in any alien special function phase thereafter, erected warrior, worker, and/or heavy weapon units may move simultaneously from their parent brain cell along the tunnels of that cell to the breach hex at no movement point cost. They may then move normally on the surface of the movement in the movement phase of the same turn. Some or all of the units belonging to the appropriate brain cell may move to the surface during the turn or any turn thereafter. Once placed on the map board, erected units may only return to the tunnel complex during a subsequent erected special function phase. They may not move to the surface and return to the tunnel complex in the same turn, or vice versa. To return to the tunnel complex, an erected unit must either begin the arachnid part segment, a breach hex, or a breach hex must be created in the hex that the erected unit occupies. If one of these conditions exists, the erected unit may Re-enter the tunnel system. Units that re-enter a tunnel system are simply removed from that board. Note, units of one brain cell may not re-enter the tunnel complex of another brain cell. Order of turn additions. Turn player segment, special function phase. Turn player initiate, special placement and demolition procedures as explained in subsequent rules. Movement phase, turn player moves his limit of their movement allowances as desired. Range weapon phase, turn player initiates and resolves attacks against enemy units within range of its special weapons units. Close combat phase, turn player initiates and resolves any attacks against enemy in the same hex of friendly units. Set jump phase, turn player moves his mobile infantry units again up to half of their normal movement allowance. Arachnid player segment, special function phase, arachnid player initiates tunnel surface movement and other special construction demolition procedures as explained. Range weapon phase, arachnid player initiates and resolves attacks against enemy units within range of arachnid heavy weapons units. Movement phase, arachnid player moves all units, including engineering units, to the limits of their movement allowances as desired. Close combat phase, arachnid player initiates and resolves attacks against those enemy units in the same hex with friendly warrior units. Then repeat 1 and 2 for each turn of the game. Note the humanoid turn sequence is exactly the same as the Terran turn sequence, except that the humanoid units have no extended jump capability. Range weapon combat, heavy weapon units and certain types of special weapons and equipment, SWE, can extend their attack strength over distance as opposed to regular units, which must execute attacks in the same hex they occupy. Ranged weapons are those weapons with a range greater than 0, and a given number in the upper left counters. Following tips are used. In Scenario 2, directed each combat brain cell contains one heavy weapon unit. Heavy weapon unit may fire with an attack strength of 18 to a range of 6 hexes. Terran mobile infantry units may be equipped with various types of weaponry in addition to their basic personal armament. These various devices fall under the general category of special weapons equipment, SWE. Scenario 2 introduce one type of Terran SWE, the high explosive missile launcher. Each MI unit equipped with high explosive HE missile launcher may fire an attack with an attack strength of 9 to a range of 6 hexes. Ranged weapons may attack units that are within the number of hexes in the weapon's range. Any one hex in range may be attacked, subject to limitations. Ranged weapons may attack units that are within the same hex. Terran units may not attack enemy units containing other than non-KIA Terran units. Alien ranged weapons may fire into hexes containing other alien units. Such friendly units undergo the effects of attack in the same manner as enemy units. Blocking terrain. Rough terrain and city spaceport hexes block the path of fire of ranged weapons at ranges greater than 1 hex. Ranged weapons may always fire adjacent units regardless of terrain. Ranged weapons may not fire to target units if rough terrain and or city space support hexes intervene. If they go in the line, then they're blocked. Blocking terrain does not apply to either the firing unit's hex or the target unit's hex, but only to the hexes between those locations. Unlike close combat ranged weapons, fire affects all units in a hex individually. That is, the combined attack strengths of all ranged weapons firing to a target hex are totaled and applied to each individual target in the hex, in turn as a separate attack. Each ranged weapon may only fire at 1 hex per turn. More than one ranged weapon may fire at the same hex at the same turn, however, combining their attack strengths for a single combat resolution against each unit hex. Each hex may only be fired upon once per ranged weapon phase. Heavy weapon units may only attack in the ranged weapon phase. They may never attack in close combat phase. Terran units may attack in both the close combat phase and the ranged weapon phase of the same player segment, provided they are equipped with a ranged SWE. SWE. Using the Terran control sheet, Terran player records distribution expenditure of special weapons equipment. Terran control sheet as follows. Equipment notation. There are various weapons like HE missile launcher, which M1 units may carry and operate. Some of the equipment are represented by counters, which actually replace the map board. Others, like the HE missile launchers, have no counters. They are assumed to be carried by the unit to which they are assigned. All SWE must have their distribution expenditure recorded on the Terran control sheet. The number and types of available SWEs stated in the available forces section of each scenario. Terran player may distribute SWE to his M1 units in any manner he desires, subject to the limit stated. Possession of SWE by individual units is indicated by circling initials. The particular type of the proper unit's control box. For instance here, some types of SWE, up to 4 units of each type, may be carried by one unit. So circle the appropriate number, exact number carried. Light, heavy, and KAI results record the Terran player roll a single dice for each target unit of the SWE. Whenever loss of equipment occurs, indicate this by crossing out the initials. To record expenditure of SWE, simply cross out the highest number indicated and transfer. SWE counters may be transferred whenever both units occupy the same hex at the beginning of the Terran player segment. Units may use transfer equipment in the same turn in which is transferred. Note the transfer may not be executed if the receiving unit is in stun, WA, or KIA condition. Mobile infantry extended jump phase. Mobile infantry units may move up to half their normal movement allowance during the extended jump phase, subject to the individual damage status and terrain restrictions. Units suffer heavy damage, results on an alien tech table, may never execute extended jump. Extended jump is separate from and in addition to any movement executed during a regular movement phase. Scenario 3, Invasion of Sci Fi. Introduction after being ejected from their transport ships. Launch 2 mobile infantry troopers drop to the planet surface by breaking their descent through a system of expendable heat shields and drug parachutes. During the surface, their suit rockets fired to reduce speed for the final drop to the surface combat area. Mobile infantry initial drop procedure. During the turn of entry, MI units are placed on the map board in a drop pattern and undergo a procedure that simulates their descent to the planet surface and the evasive tactics thus employed to determine the enemy's defenses. Simply stated, this procedure consists of placing the MI units on the map board, randomly determining the direction in which all of the units were ejected from launch tubes, and then randomly determining each individual unit's displacement due to evasive tactics. During the special function phase of the turn of entry, Terran player positions his mobile infantry units on the map board in a drop pattern. This pattern may be placed on the map board in any shape or form subject to the following restrictions. MI units must be placed on the map board in groups of 9 units, such there is only 1 unit per hex. Each member of the group is adjacent to at least 1, but no more than 2 other members of the same group, and each group must form a linear, straight line pattern consistent with the map board hex grain. Units of one group may not be adjacent to units of another group. Determine direction of launch. All units are ejected from transport in the same general direction. Determined by the Starship pilot. This is randomly determined by rolling one die, selecting the scatter diagram on the map board. Here. Determine individual unit drift using the drift diagram. Determine the final hex location of each individual MI. Roll one die and consult the drift diagram. The number rolled represents both the direction and the interest, and the number of hexes in that direction must be moved. Note that this direction is relative to the previously determined launch direction. After all units have been dropped and scattered in the special function phase, all movement for dropped units is ended. They may not initiate any further movement or attacks during the initial drop turn. Special, any M1 units. Any M1 unit that is forced to move off the edge of the map board due to the initial direction of launch and subsequent drift is automatically eliminated from the game, considered as KIA for victory point purposes, if applicable. Additions to the special weapons and equipment inventory. Additional special weapons and equipment are provided below. Humanoid, SWE, heavy weapon beam. Each heavy weapon beam may fire with a hex strength of 9 to range 6 hexes. heavy weapon missile. The other type of humanoid heavy weapon unit is equipped with high explosive missiles. Each heavy weapon missile unit may fire an attack strength of 12 to a range of 10 hexes. Terran SWE mobile infantry units may carry special delayed action high explosive munitions, which then may drop in any hex they pass through. Delayed action charge proximity. The DAP charge is an SWE counter that the DAP may be dropped by the unit in any hex that occupies or passes through during the movement or extended jump phase by simply crossing on one square of the M1's unit control box and placing a DAP counter in the proper hex. More than one DAP counter may be placed in each hex. The DAP charge automatically and immediately attacks an enemy unit that enters that hex unless the hex contains a Terran unit. Regardless of condition, if dropped in hex array containing enemy units, it is activated. As soon as the carrying unit leaves that hex, the DAP attacks all enemy units or a strong point in the hex with attack strength of 12. Each DAP counter may attack only once per game. The attack is resolved in the same manner as ranged combat. Delayed action charge remote, DAR. The DAR is similar to DAP in the way it is carried and dropped. Differs from the DAP. It does not automatically attack enemy units that enters hex, but must be activated by the carrying charge from another hex. To activate the DAR charge, the carrying unit must be within 10 hexes DAR in a functional state, non-stun, WIA or KIA. More than one DAR may be placed in hex, but they must be activated at the same time. The DAR attacks all enemy units in the same hex at the time the charge is detonated with an attack strength of 18. DAP, it is used once and then removed from play. The attack is resolved in the same manner as ranged combat. Both DAP and DAR charges may be dropped in position on the map board in an inverted fashion. Multiple DAP and DAR charges must combine their attack strengths when detonated simultaneously. When placed on the map board, DAP and DAR may not be picked up, carried, or otherwise moved from their location. Refer to the special weapons equipment inventory chart, listing of all SWE types and equipments. And this is the special weapons and equipment inventory chart shown here. Section 4, Revolt. Introduction, the arachnids enjoyed a phenomenally high level of technological expertise in constructing, maintaining, and repairing their all-important tunnel systems until the Terran Federation discovered the technology that denied the enemy full use of their tunnel complexes. Victory was an almost insurmountable task. Terran combat engineers are non-mobile infantry combat units whose task is to seal off, dislocate, and otherwise destroy arachnid tunnels by placement and detonation of special demolition charges. Combat engineers move and engage in close combat in the same manner as regular M1 units, with these exceptions. Combat engineers may not execute extended jump movement. Combat engineers may engage in close combat normal fashion, but they may never operate mobile infantry SWE. When defending attacks against combat engineers resolved in the attack table, as usual, when a combat engineer suffers a heavy outcome, it is automatically loses all test equipment, including any demolition charges. Additionally, a combat engineer is removed from play whenever it suffers a WA or KIA result and is considered destroyed. Light and heavy results are treated as stun. Demolition procedure. Combat engineers provided with special explosive demolitions is outlined. Demolition charges are placed into turn procedure. Combat engineer may place one demolition charge per turn in any hex it occupies at the beginning of the turn. Demolition charges are in place during the Terran special movement special function phase. Placement consists of placing the demolition counter face down in the proper hex. In the next special function phase, demolition counter is turned face up, may be detonated in the same special function phase or in a subsequent special function phase. To detonate the demolition charge, the emplacing combat engineer unit must occupy a demolition hex in a stun condition at the time of demolition. After detonation, the demolition counter is removed from play. Note if the emplacing combat engineer unit is in a stun condition during either two turns or moves out of the emplacement hex, the emplacement sequence is stopped. The sequence may be resumed at any point whenever a unit becomes unstunned, returns to the hex. Combat Engineer cannot continue in a placement sequence that was begun by another CE unit. The CE Combat Engineer unit may not move or attack during the turns of placement or detonation. Once the demolition counter has been placed on that board, it may not be shifted, carried, or otherwise moved from its initial location. The effects of HE demolition. An HE demolition charge destroys any arachnid tunnels that may be in the detonation hex. Brain and queen cells are not affected by HE demolition munitions. Any arachnid unit occupying tunnel in the detonation hex is considered destroyed. Any breach in the hex is automatically destroyed, and the breach counter is removed from the map board. Units on the surface of the demolition hex are unaffected. The air cars. Air cars are a general purpose utility that transport combat engineers and their equipment. Each air car may transport one combat engineer unit. To transport a combat engineer unit, a air car must begin a turn player segment in the same hex as combat engineer unit. To begin transported, the combat engineer unit first must be loaded into the air car during the special function phase. The unit is indicated as being loaded by being placed under the air car unit. The combat engineer unit may not move, attack, or engage in demolition operations on the same turn in which it is loaded, unloaded, or transported by air car. Air cars may move up to the limit of their movement allowance, same turn they load or unload engineer units. They may not, however, load and unload in the same special function phase. Air cars may ignore all terrain costs when moving. They simply expend one movement point for each hex entered regardless of terrain costs. They have no stacking limit. An air car and the unit is transporting are treated as one unit for combat purposes. When attacked, only defense strength of the air car is used. Air cars are unaffected by arachnid demolition charges during the turn movement phase. They are affected during the arachnid special function phase only if they are loaded and unloaded in the previous turn player segment. Special, when air car is being attacked, stun outcomes have no effect. Additionally, any other results have no effect on stun, causes the elimination of the air car and any unit it may be transporting. Arachnid demolition munitions. Arachnid high explosive demolition munitions are explosive charges securely located on the map board that the arachnid player may detonate in an attempt to destroy enemy units without exposing friendly units to counterattack. Demolition munitions must be secretly positioned on the alien control pad prior to play. There are no counters for arachnid demolition munitions. They exist only on the alien map pad. The number of individual demolition charges that may be placed are listed in the scenarios. Available forces. Demolition munitions may only be employed adjacent to within one hex of tunnel hexes, but they may not be placed in hexes containing arachnid, brain, or queen cells, or in those hexes containing tunnels constructed prior to the commencement of play. A maximum of one demolition charge may be placed in each hex. Demolition charges are detonated during the alien special force function phase or during the enemy movement phase or extended jump phase at the arachnid player's discretion. When detonated during the enemy movement phase or extended jump phase, the arachnid player announces detonation immediately resolves the attack against any turn units in the hex. If combat brain is eliminated, demolition charges adjacent to the tunnel system may not be detonated. Each demolition charge may be detonated only once per game. Notation: placement of high explosive demolition charges is indicated by drawing a small triangle. Proper boxing on the control pad. Detonated is a filled triangle. Effects detonation of an HE demolition charge produces the following effects. All units on the surface of the hex are immediately attacked with an attack strength of 24 as in range combat. Any tunnel segments in the detonation hex are destroyed. Any arachnid unit occupying tunnel in the hex is destroyed. Any breach in the hex is automatically destroyed. And breach counter removed. Premature detonation. If Terran demolition charge is detonated in hex containing an undetonated arachnid charge, the arachnid charge is automatically detonated with the effects immediately applied to any units occupying the hex. Likewise, arachnid demolition charges automatically detonate. In turn, demolition charges that may be on the map board in the hex. Tunnel damage and repair. Tunnels already destroys real Terran and arachnid demolition detonations. Effects of destroyed tunnels. Arachnid units may not enter, pass through, or otherwise use destroyed tunnels. Movement from a parent brain cell to the surface is prohibited if the path of movement must be traced to detonated through destroyed tunnel. Likewise, an arachnid unit on the surface may not re-enter the tunnel system if the path of movement from its breach-hex to its parent brain cell is blocked by a destroyed tunnel. Engineering units may not trace movement into or through destroyed tunnels. Protecting tunnels, destroyed tunnel hexes may be restored to full function by arachnid engineering units. Each arachnid engineering unit may repair one destroyed tunnel hex per turn. Repairs are initiated during the arachnid special function phase. To repair a tunnel hex, the arachnid engineer must be adjacent to and in a tunnel hex connected with a destroyed tunnel hex at the beginning of the special function phase. Repairs are simply assumed to be completed at the end of the special function phase. A tunnel may be used for movement in the same turn in which it was repaired. An engineer unit may not create a breach in the same turn in which it repairs tunnel hex. It may, however, move normally in the same turn. Damage repair notation charges. Changes in the status of tunnels must be very carefully noted on the alien map pad. Destroyed tunnels are indicated by placing an X in the hex. Repairs are noted by erasing X or drawing a box around it. And that's four. Then the others, Scenario 5 introduces retrieval boats and rocket beacons. Talks about their defense. Soft landings, casualty recovery, capturing missile infantry casualties, tunnel construction. There's ground lessening devices, heavy nerve gas. Scenario 6 involves nuclear special weapons and equipment. More detail of mobile infantry and arachnid tunnel movement, combat in tunnels, capture and destruction of brains and queens, Terran special talents, hidden breach hexes, using 2 higher echelon units in the scenario. Last scenario, last battle, variable arachnid complexes, variable arachnid demolition charges, some game optional variations like defender, disorientation, mobile infantry multiple damage, it's prisoner cells, combat engineer breaching, and then here it goes through the scenarios, and I'll talk through them a little bit. I'll go through scenario 4 in detail, but again, scenario 1 is fainting against humanoids, 2 is Operation Bughouse, 3 is Invasion of Skinny 5, 4 that I'll be doing is scenario 4 Revolt, 5 is a Sheol Operation Corkscrew, 5B is Sheol Retreat and Evacuation, 6 is Operation Royalty, 7 is Glendathu, The Last Battle. Some addendums. Then we'll get into setup and play. So we'll do setup here. I'm doing scenario 4, Revolt. 2157.12.10. You see savage raids against their interplanetary systems and increased and intense covert negotiations had convinced the humanoids to abandon their erstwhile arachnid allies. Implementation of humanoid disengagement, however, was complicated by the arachnid occupation of several key humanoid planets. These watchdog garrisons would have prevented peaceful termination of hostilities. Only the guarantee of active Terran intervention finally persuaded the humanoids to attempt to regain control of their occupied systems. As the humanoid revolt began, small task forces of mobile infantry and combat engineers were dispatched deep into enemy space to aid the hard-pressed humanoid forces. Violent pitched battles, witnessing some of the most desperate combat of the war, were fought on every occupied planet. Scenario 4 portrays one of these ferocious encounters. Arachnid setup first. Construct tunnel complex anywhere on the map board before humanoid player sets up. Humanoid set up second. Anywhere on map board, move first. Terran, enter any turn. After game, turn 4. on a die roll of 1 or 2. Roll a die once at the beginning of each Terran humanoid player segment. Mobile infantry units enter as per initial draw procedure. Units must be positioned on barren terrain hexes prior to drop. Engineer and aircar units enter the game in the same turn by moving onto the map board from any hex on south edge. Move first. Game length 15 turns. Special rules 1. Terran and humanoid units move together during the same player segment. They may move and function normally with these limitations. A. Terran and humanoid units may not voluntarily stack together or remain in the same hex unless they are involuntarily immobilized as a result of combat. B. Terran and humanoid units may not combine attack strengths for any type of ranged or close combat. They may not attack the same enemy unit in the same combat phase. C. Humanoid units use the Terran attack table when attacking arachnid units and vice versa. Arachnid demolition charges may not be emplaced within 2 hexes of any city or spaceport hex. Tunnel segments, however, may be placed and function normally anywhere in the map board. Victory conditions. Humanoid Terran accumulate more victory points than the arachnid player. At the end of the game, arachnid accumulate as many or more victory points than the humanoid Terran player at the end of the game. Victory points are ordered as follows. Humanoid Terran player receives the following points for each of the unit types listed below, occupying a safe spaceport hex at the end of the game. Each warrior unit 1 point, each MICE, HW unit 2 points. The arachnid player receives the following points for each enemy unit WIA, KA, or destroyed. Warrior unit 1 point, each MICE, HW unit 2 points. Note humanoid Terran units that are KA, WA, or disrupted do not count for humanoid Terran victory point purposes. And then the forces are humanoid, 3 heavy beams, 2 heavy missiles, 9 workers, 6 strong points, and 18 warriors. Arachnid, 25 warriors, 25 workers, 5 heavy weapons. Terran, 3 command, 21 marauder, 3 scouts. 6 STAP, 6 star, 6 command engineer squads, 6 air cars, 18 HE. For the arachnids then, here's the setup on the alien control pad. So I set the complex here with the queen, of course, at the center, the master brain on this hex, and the remaining 5 hexes around there are the combat brains. And from each combat brain, you have a path that goes out 10 hexes shown in each of these. These are the primary paths. And then on those primary paths, you can either have a secondary path that goes out 5, or 2 that go out 3. And on these, I have one that goes out, a secondary that goes out 5. The arachnids, workers and warriors, have a movement value of 1. The barren and the rough terrain have a movement cost of greater than 1. So the only place they can really move is the savannah. So there's an exception that I'll talk about. So I have these tunnels that make it all the way out to the savannah here. And then the secondary tunnels, they'll be mainly defensive posture and pop up where they have breaches, because they can't really move there with the exception of their heavy weapon. But on this one, I have it connecting up to the road, and by connecting up to the road, then you can get down to a half movement point cost, so you can move then across that terrain. At least my understanding is, if you pop up right on the road. So it has a couple options there. It hooks up to the road here and also on the secondary path here. So that's the idea. Then as far as where the humanoids are located, I have these strong points in these locations, and within those I have 2 warriors and a worker that are contained in them. And then I have some warriors and workers in the city hexes here. And then finally I have the heavy weapon beams and heavy weapon missiles here. So let's set up, and then we'll get into play. Just start in turn 5 here and show you where I'm at. So I just rolled a 2 that indicates the Terrans are going to be dropping in now. So I thought that'd be a good time to pick it up. What has happened is the arachnids have breached some of their tunnels to come up to the surface. Here's the map, and they're doing a breach here, 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 and here. So over here. And then also they're breaching up on the road here from this combat brain path. So they got a breach up here. And they're also breaching here. And they can't really move there except their heavy weapon. And they've, turns out their breach over here was right by a stronghold. And they came up with their heavy weapon and a couple, I mean, had some workers and some warriors. Of course, the workers are just to distract them so that they attack the workers instead of the warriors. But they were over to overwhelm the strong point that was right here and destroyed the strong point and the units within it here. So they lost some workers and warriors here. So pretty heavy damage there. And they lost a warrior and a worker. Ideally, it's, you know, a 2-player, you kind of hide what you're doing, but for my purposes, I have the arachnids inverted because they have a mix of warriors and workers, and they have to confuse the humanoids about who the workers are because the workers don't have any offensive capability. And the humanoids, the skinnies, are just kind of taking a defensive posture mainly. They've moved up some of their weapons here to kind of block their road going in. But they're just kind of waiting for the Terrans to come, and they're coming now. And since they popped up in the breach here, they can move on this road. If they were here, they can't because it costs a couple movement points, and they only have 1. But that's why they popped up on the breach, so they can move in. As far as the structure of the Terran units coming down then, there's full engineer, combat engineer platoon, 3 combat engineers, and then there's also 6 air cars corresponding to that. Each of them there's 18 total, so I distributed 3 high energy munitions for each for a total of 18. And then there's 3 command units. I have a section here with a commander, and then 2 squads, and here a section commander with a squad, and then a platoon commander. And so the full squads are 7 marauders and a scout, shown here. So 3 of those groups. There's 6 DAP and 6 DAR, so I distributed the DAP 1 each to 6 of the different marauders, and the DAR 1 each to 6 of the different marauders. This is the initial drop pattern, and we'll figure out the direction of launch. It's going in direction 1, so it's dropped in this direction, so that'll be our reference direction. And they go in lines of 9. And you can have some distance between them, but they have to at least 2 next to each other. I just went with a straight lines of 9. So you have, 7 marauders, a scout, and a leader. And now we do the scatter for the drop for the individual units. We determine they're going in direction 1, which is that's their reference point. Then we roll for each. I'll show a few here. This one is 3, so it goes in direction 3, and he goes 3 spots. Shown here. This one, 2. Direction 2, he goes up 2. One, he goes up 1. 3. So it also goes 3. And then we continue that. And this is after all the units have been scattered from the drop. So I'd like to shout out to Board Game Geek, because on the forums there's a lot of good insight into how to work through the rules and everything here, so I appreciate that. So after the airdrop, the Terrans at airdrop can't move anymore, but the units that didn't can in their movement phase, and the combat engineers are on the air cars. They're not affected by the terrain, so they can move quite far. So they're going to start, they don't want to get too far ahead of the Marauders, but they want to kind of work towards the humanoids there, so. And a couple go back by these. So the rules say the humanoid and Terran is the same except for some jump activities. So I'm going to assume that since they're allies, the skinnies are moving at the same time as the Terrans do. So I think I only want, I don't want to keep, if a strong point goes down, the things within it goes down as well. So I think I'll only keep humanoid workers in the strong points. So I'll keep that one there. And similarly, I'll just have workers in that strong point. And I'll still kind of keep them defensive. Group him with him. So they have a range of 6, so I'll move him up as well. And it's half point to move on there. So 1, 2, 3. We'll keep these where they're at. Come back here. And I'll move him up closer to. So you can move 4 points, but it's half per each. So 1, 2, 3, I'll move there. So that's all the movement for the Terrans and humanoids. So now it's Terran and humanoid ranged weapon phase, followed by close combat phase. They have several that are in range. So the missiles have a range of 10, and the beams have a range of 6. So he's within this one. His attack is 12. Let's see what the defense is here. It's actually a defense of 8. The ratio is a 12 to an 8, but you round it down so it's a 1-to-1. Go to the Terran attack table here. 1-to-1. 5. Disrupted. Disrupted marker on that unit. It's good because that was a arachnid heavy weapon. And we'll look up here. The heavy beam, range of 6. That's within 5, so we can fire there, and he'll affect everything in the pile. And they're both gonna. So these two are gonna fire, and you combine their force against what's in the pile. So it's 18, 2 9. So then let's see, we have in the pile 2 warriors and 2 workers. So we do them all individually. We'll do the workers. The ratio is 18-to-1. That is 6-to-1 plus. Disrupted. Okay, and lucky. Another disrupted. And then 18-6. Ratio of 3-to-1 for the warriors. Very unlucky. Miss. 6, finally. Eliminated. So they were unlucky, but they did take out one of the warriors. So those two, and now he'll be attacking there. So see what he's going against? He's going after a heavy weapon. It's 9-to-8, so a ratio of 1-1 again. Again, unfortunate miss. So he missed. That wasn't good. He also has ranged. He'll be going against this pile. It's a heavy missile. Let's see what we have here. 2 warriors and a worker. Ratio is 12-1, so 6 plus against a worker. 4 eliminated. 12-6, ratio of 2. Unfortunately misses. 2. Another miss, so unlucky. And then the Terran humanoid close combat phase. For close combat, you have to be in the same hex, and there's none that are in the same hex right now. So then go to the arachnids. They're not doing any tunnel repair or anything like that. So now they go to their ranged, and their heavy weapons can fire 6, a range of 6. You'll go against him. So then 6, and it's a 18 to 8. Which rounds to a 2-1. The alien attack table is only used when Terran units are defending, but since this is a humanoid defending, we'll use the Terran attack table. It's ratio of 2-1. 4. Disrupted. Other ranged weapons. Let's see where they're heavy. Another heavy weapon here. He'll go against this unit, which is within 6, so it's 18 to 4, which is a 4-1 ratio. Fortunately misses. So actually these units are out of range of the humanoids, but they're obviously in range of the Terrans. So he's gonna see what he can do here. He's gonna go against a marauder, so 18 to 6, so a 3-1. And now you do the alien attack table. 4 heavy. So he's stunned for a turn. I'll turn him over to indicate he's stunned. You lose extended jump capability, meaning attack, close combat phase for remainder of the game. Oh. Additionally, roll on the SW&E loss chart. It's heavy, and you roll a 5. No effect. All SW&E weapons remain usable. Okay. Then he'll go against that marauder. Again, it's a ratio of 18 to 6, so 3-1. Alien attack table. Roll a 6. Kill. Okay, I can put a KIA and I can remove him from play later. So that's their attack. And then they do movement. He's going to go back in the tunnel. So I'll put him, and I have the groupings here corresponding to the tunnels. And then these ones as well, it's not looking good there, so they're going to go back in their tunnel. He'll go back in the tunnel. It's kind of stuck out here, so we'll kind of move back towards the tunnel. He's got a movement of 3, but he's on a road, so that means he can go 6. Actually, he's gonna stay in range there. These will start going back towards their tunnel. Similarly with them. He'll stay where he's at. They'll move back towards the tunnel. He's with a couple units that are disrupted, so the disrupted ones can't move, so he's gonna stay there. Somewhere he'll stay there. And that's their movement. And then they're not on the same hex as any Terran humanoids, so there's no close combat. Then we'll start another turn. So I'll do it just a little bit into the next turn. So there's special functions. The combat engineers haven't gotten off the air cars yet, so they can't do their mining. But when they do, they'll plan on planting some HE demolitions, and when they get a sense about where the arachnid tunnels might be, they'll try to put them around there. They don't quite know where they might be yet. They'll probably head over to the breaches. And then we'll do just a few movements of troops. They have DAP and DAR munitions, and they're going to drop those. So he's going to send the train effects on barren terrain. It's cost 1 MP for each X. He's got to move in of 6, so he's going to be moving. And then he's going to drop a DAP right here. Then he'll move one more. So they're gonna try to block this road off so they can't go on there. So he's gonna go up here, drop a DAP, and then move away from it. And then they also don't want him coming back on the road, so he'll put a DAR here. And then he'll move another spot. He has to stay beyond range of that. So I got a few munitions placed there. And then move the rest of the units. Take engineers off the air cars, etc. And move some of the humanoid units. And then play continues from there. So that hopefully gives you a bit of a sense of it. So Starship Troopers from Avalon Hill from 1976. It's one of the earlier games. The components are great. It's got hardcore science fiction basis. I mean, Robert Heinlein actually even, wrote on the box here. It's based very cleanly on his works. There's a lot of variations you can do, several scenarios. Gives you a good kind of step through learning. A lot of good replayability. And the components hold up really well, especially the map is phenomenal. The counters are nice. They have good art. Good asymmetric abilities between the different races. So it's pretty much a sets the standard for classic games, I think. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Starship Troopers from Avalon Hill, 1976. Thanks a lot.